Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session sponsored by Brain Drain Unlimited. This is session 2 of our Pathways to Status webinar series, and today we're going to be talking about immigration scams and what you need to do to avoid common immigration scams. As we know, immigration is a difficult enough process. There's enough paperwork to fill out as it is. I would like to introduce our co-founder, Manus MacLean. Manus founded Brain Drain along with Constantine a couple of years ago, and he's been very busy behind the scenes acting as our financier and sales manager. And I'll just read a little profile that we have on file about Manus. Manus has contributed over 45 years of experience, and he's done everything spanning business, law, social services. He hasn't been a lawyer in practice, but he's very deeply committed to community empowerment, and he's been an immigration advocate for vulnerable populations for many years. He has a lifetime of lived experience, and he's renowned for his deep learning skills, his steady leadership, and his unwavering dedication to justice. And I'll just say that Manus goes above and beyond to help people who need help, who are good people. Manus believes his true success is measured by the number of people he helps. And he's very passionate about building systems that genuinely serve individuals, inspiring others through his professional impact and personal integrity. And with that, I'm going to get out of the way and introduce you to Manus, and I'll be driving some slides. Manus?
Okay, thank you. One of the things I think you should understand, our immigration process goes into three categories, and maybe four. But the first category is family-based, and that is by the largest one, family-based. That is anybody who has a brother, sister, wife, child, or parent situation. If they're related, then they get first priority and they get to go through the immigration process a lot quicker. The second one, which is what we focus in on, is the employment based. There's 140,000 or 144,000 openings in the employment based. And yes, they get filled up. Yes, it's true that we simply just do not have enough. And but there's a little bit of quirks. You'll see the 144 gets divided by country. So each country gets 96 or 9,800. And it doesn't matter whether you are in the Vatican, which has maybe 3 people in it, or if you are in China, which has 1 billion people, or India, which has 1 billion people. You get 9,800 slots in the employment based. That's why citizens of India and China tend to wait years, to go through the process. As far as the nations that we service, that we focus in on, we have by far, we have Russia, Georgia, well, I'll go in order, Georgia, Russia, Ukraine, and Moldova. And we also deal with the most Eastern European nations. I can tell you that in the employment-based 1A category, Russia comes in at 5 with about 300 applications. And on the EB1A side, they have a total slots of about 1,800. So they haven't filled up, and they're still number 5. And those other countries don't even crack the top 10. In the EB2 category, it's wide open, as far as those who have Russian citizenship. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth, and you can more than likely ask the questions. And we did have this before, which you can see on our channel. And we had our attorney, Thomas, give that presentation about how we go through that process. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. Eric, if you could start the slides, yes. There's a lot of misinformation there's a lot of lies and whatnot. I think we have a famous author here in the United States, Mark Twain, who once said, "There are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics." And but I want to try and get to the truth of the matter and how to find out who you are talking to is telling you the truth and how to verify that. Verifying DOJ, which is Department of Justice recognition, and attorney bar membership. So somebody will tell you that he's an attorney. He may not be, but there's a way to check it. All right, if we can go to the next slide. All right. Our first site is, you can see the website, and you will get copies of these slides. All right, you go to justice.gov/, that will tell you if the person is an accredited representative, his name will be on there. All right. As far as an attorney, yeah, it'll also tell you whether he is or she is a partial or full DHS immigration. The difference is that a partial rep is qualified to handle paperwork and your application and whatnot. They are empowered to handle that, and then they can guide that process through. As far as the full DHS and immigration court, just as it says, they are empowered to represent you in the court system should there be a difference of opinion between what you consider to be your credential, for whatever, and the officer from USCIS has a different opinion. So it goes in front of a judge. That full accreditation fully accredited rep can represent you in that process. I just want to say something here. Under the EB2 and the EB1 category, they talk about extraordinary and exceptional ability. And these are terms that have different meanings for different people. I can say that every one of you has a grandmother that will say that you are exceptional and extraordinary and whatnot. And many of you will also, when I ask you that question directly, will say, no, I'm not. But the chances are it is somewhere in the middle, and our attorneys are very good at in covering that. I will also point out that I know of one specific case where a woman got the EB1 category, and she is a nail technician, a fingernails manicurist down in Miami, Florida. And our most famous one is the First Lady. So, she managed to get the EB1 category based on her modeling career. So we'll let that pass. Next slide, please. All right. As far as an attorney, attorneys have to be a member of the bar, typically of their home state. And if they choose to operate or practice in a neighboring state, keep in mind, we have 50 states in the United States. So one of our attorneys, the attorneys that we have are actually members of the bar in multiple states. There's Maine, there's Massachusetts, there's California, and there's also, I believe, a spattering of other states. Usually Washington, D.C. is a big one as well, the separate bar. These are bar associations that handle the licensing for attorneys. You can find their thing online. You can find the bar association online. So in this case, if a person is from Massachusetts, you just Google Massachusetts Bar Association, and you can find the roster and you can find his name or her name on there, and that will confirm that they are there. So it will also tell you whether there's ever been any disciplinary action, and that could give you a red flag if you do see that. All right, next slide. If the state is unknown, we have these two sites that you can go to, avvo.com or martindale.com. All right. And then you can also go to the EOIR, that is your uh, immigration court, and it's a discipline practitioner list. So if anybody has gotten in any trouble there, their name is there, you know, and you can basically look to see that. And obviously the point is only licensed attorney in good standing may represent clients before the USCIS EOIR. So if that person's name is on there, they can't. I think the main thing is that uh, most of you will be filing an application if you plan to come to the United States. The application, we call it the I-140. It could be various, there are other different applications, but there's a section in it where the attorney or the accredited rep has to sign stating that they are representing you. And if they refuse to sign it, that's a good indication that they're not. So let's move on to the next slide. Now we're going to talk about brain drain and how we work. We use a 9-step, and just as it says, a 9-step advocacy model. So the first is we identify the talent. We find highly educated immigrants and refugees with skills in STEM and healthcare. All right. We also find them in other things, but that's what we concentrate on. All right. Second, we are going to assess your immigration eligibility through initial legal screening and interviews. We're just going to have a conversation. We're going to see, what have you done in the past? What do you hope to do in the future? And how do we get to do that? Third is the intake and documentation. We'll collect key documents. Could be diplomas, licensing, and anything that you have in your history that shows what you've done and what you hope to continue to do. Next slide. 4, we build the legal case. We develop strong applications. The example is the EB1, the EB2 NIW, the EB1A, asylum, VAWA, which is Violence Against Women's Act. So victims of violence, in the United States can appeal and get their, whether it's violence against women, I believe it's the T visa and whatever. Legal representation. We partner you with attorneys or DOJ-accredited reps for direct legal filing. I think this is the most important step here to consider. Um, it's not to avoid mistakes. Well, it is to avoid mistakes in your application that will get you to be turned down. Nobody wants that. But we also have to make sure that the USCIS avoids mistakes. And they do make mistakes. Just as applicants make mistakes, USCIS makes mistakes. So you have to have an attorney or an accredited rep who can challenge those mistakes and get them corrected. Professional credentialing. There's a lot of misinformation regarding that. There are healthcare professionals who have licensing in their own countries, and they are given really Byzantine steps. We have doctors being told that they have to go back to school, and many times that is not correct. We can support the translation, the licensing, and credential evaluation. There's many companies that do that here, and also abroad that is accepted here. So we can help you along that process. Next slide. All right. And workforce integration. We connect our clients with U.S. employers, job readiness tools, and career networks. We look to find the job that you want and the job that will take care of you. It's a combination. So you just go through that, and we have various sources where we would put you in touch with, get you started with. They will look at your resume or CV, as it is called, and basically to just guide you through the process and coach you through that process. And ongoing case management. Yes, our team here is going to look at your case every step of the way. You're going to get, if not weekly, several times a month, reports. We kind of do all the grunt work for the attorneys and the accredited reps. And by grunt work, I'm just saying the simple paperwork that needs to be done. It's done under their supervision, but it gets done because I think, as you can imagine, uh, many times we have our attorneys and they're stretched thin, as we say. They are just handling so many cases and doing so many things. So we try to make sure that we handle the routine matters and keep the process going. And then there's advocacy and storytelling. This is one thing that we're doing tonight is the advocacy and storytelling, where we amplify client stories to influence policy and public perception. One of the key things that I cringe over every now and then is when I hear the term illegal immigrants, because there is no such thing as an illegal immigrant. There are undocumented immigrants, but they're not illegal. They haven't broken any laws. They may have broken some civil regulations, but they have not broken any criminal laws. All right, next slide. All right, you can follow us. We have basically, we're on every social media channel, and I'll let Eric explain that a little bit. You can join our educational webinars like you did tonight. And you can subscribe to our Brainwaves monthly newsletter, which I think we're in the process of issuing a new one. I'll also let Eric tell you more about that. And next slide, if there is one. Oh, yeah. And if you win the lottery and you want to give us money, that's how you do it. Uh, we don't charge for our services. I need you to understand that. Obviously, if you have the ability to pay for some of it, we will gladly accept that. If you don't, then we will find a way to get it paid for and to get it done and get you here and get you safe and get you here permanently for those who want to do that. But obviously, we get that money from our donations, and we hope that you will be able to participate that, if not now, soon or later when you're established and your career has taken off. So, yes, Andrew Carnegie from Scotland. He did all our steel making in the United States, by the way. Nothing has characterized America more than the American dream, the belief that anyone can rise above his origins, however humble, and through hard work, honesty, and thrift, achieve positions of power and influence. Yeah, Andrew Carnegie was an orphan that came out of Scotland and managed to uh, build U.S. Steel into a huge powerhouse in the early 1900s. And okay, Eric.
Hey, great presentation, Manus.
Oh, thank you.
I thought you'd like the Scottish insert for your behest. For those of you
Yes,
who don't know, Manus's family comes from a Scottish ancestry, and my family comes from a Scandinavian ancestry. So in America, most of us are immigrants unless you hail from Native American tribes.
it was Franklin Roosevelt, I believe, who said that we are all immigrants. And every president has echoed that comment. We all came from somewhere. We all came from somewhere that rejected us. And, because, very similar, my family in Scotland was, uh, we were the poor people. We were the people that were sent to the city to live in the tenement buildings because there was no room at the palace anymore. So we found our way to the United States, and obviously we built the life, we built the family, here, and that's what we hope to provide for you is that opportunity.
Absolutely. And one thing you mentioned, Manus, was our social media. Yeah, we're putting the message out on social media. So follow us. We put interesting quotes, just like the one you saw about Mr. Carnegie. We're trying to keep you entertained. So if you'd like some good facts about immigration, some interest in immigrant facts, or you just want the occasional laugh or two, please do follow us on other channels apart from YouTube, as well as the newsletter. We are hoping to put out a monthly newsletter, which will be a combination of events that we've hosted, upcoming events. We are hoping to highlight some of our clients, like we're doing every Monday with our other live stream, which is Meet Your Neighbors. And so that's another weekly event that we're trying to push out. So without further ado, Manus, we're going to get into a few questions. We had some sent in beforehand. So
Yes,
we talked a little bit about the resources we should check with about checking a lawyer's reputation.
yes,
And I think you clarified some of that with those links. So there are two good resources in the slides, and we will provide those. But
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
correct me if I'm wrong, but even though we're dealing with immigration on the federal level, what gets a little funky in the United States is our states have very, very different laws from state to state in terms of lawyer licensing.
Yes,
So it's important to know that the immigration law is the same every place. So it's right, it's not a different law if you're going to Minnesota or if you're going to California. It's just that the
correct.
lawyer that's practicing in that state has to be authorized in that state.
Yes, that is correct. It also tells you a little bit about it's not what is there, but is what is not there. So if you don't, when you come up and you get his bar history and you don't see any disciplinary action, obviously that is always going to be that is a huge. I can tell you that right now, that if you have a conflict with an attorney in the United States, once you mention that you're going to the bar, if you say, I'll take you to court, he doesn't care.
So
You
in the
know,
United States, maybe backing up, I don't know if all countries have this, but in the United States, all attorneys have to join what's called the bar, which is their
yes.
associate. And amongst other things, they provide essentially it's a credit report for an attorney.
Yeah. Uh, if you are having an issue with an attorney in the United States, and as I said, you threaten to take him to court, he will kind of uh, laugh at that. But if you say, I will take this to the bar, to the bar association, he takes that extremely seriously. And he will do everything he can so that no complaint is made against him officially at the bar.
If
So,
an attorney is disbarred, they're out of business.
yes, yes. And also, it, it, it really affects their reputation and their ability to get new business and new clients if they have any discipline situation at the bar, if they're ever brought up on for any disciplinary reasons. And so they take that extremely seriously. All right.
Great, great. So, and I will add again, I will plug our website is we try to stay on top of a lot of immigration resources, and we've gathered a lot over the 6 months, and we're only continuing. So continue to check our website. I will
Yes.
also plug we have a little chat bot on our website. His name is Grumbot, and all you have to do is put in an email address, and that's only to prevent spam. And Grumbot can answer basic questions about immigrating to the US because I've trained it on the USCIS policy.
All
So,
right.
man, yeah.
Question number two.
Question number two, Manus. So, how do we, all lawyers talk smooth. How do we pick a lawyer? How do we know who's a good and experienced lawyer in immigration as opposed to Better Call Saul? And I'm referencing a US show there, but
There is an organization called the American Immigration Lawyers Association. All right. Lawyers practice, they have their practice. They can either do criminal law, they can do civil law. You'll see in the United States, you'll see a lot of advertisements for personal injury. That is a different type of law. And a personal injury lawyer is not necessarily an immigration lawyer. He doesn't necessarily know uh, the nuances and the specificity of how to
I,
handle himself in court.
I'll jump on that, Manus.
Yes.
In Southern California, we have that a lot. We have a lot of signs in Spanish, and are you looking for a bail bondsman? Are you looking for a lawyer? And in normal times, what it is for people who have gotten in traffic accidents or Spanish speaking. But these days, they are pushing themselves off that they can help with immigration, and those are not the people.
Yeah,
Uh,
you want to see if typically on their websites and on their resumes and their information, if they have taken the trouble to join the American Immigration Lawyers Association, you'll see the letters AILA, and on their websites, you'll see that information that tells you that they took the time and the trouble to study immigration law, and they understand it and they've practiced it. So that's the first thing I would do when I would talk to the attorney.
so say once we've found a lawyer and it's time to sign an agreement with that lawyer, how does it typically work in the United States? Do we pay up front? Do we pay for services rendered? How do you make sure that you're getting the right deal when it
Uh,
comes to signing a contract?
in many cases, when with a lawyer, lawyers, and I don't want to speak for lawyers, but you'll see a contract that requires a retainer and an hourly rate. So the retainer is, basically it's just what it is. It's a chunk of money that you give to the attorney, and then as he does his work, he takes that money and pays himself, on his hourly rate. Uh, Most cases they will just charge a flat fee, and I know that with many of the good immigration attorneys, their flat fee could be anywhere from 15 to $20,000. I've seen it that high. I've seen it higher. I've seen 25,000. And keep in mind, you still have another 10 or $20,000 in USCIS fees. So you could easily pay $50,000, privately. That's why we do what we do, and we try to raise the money to offset that. We try to do as much of the simple work, leaving our attorneys to do the complicated work and the difficult work, and so that we can keep that fee down and reasonable. And we also understand that many refugees, which if you're forced to leave your country, you're a refugee, or that's the bottom line. Uh, they don't have unlimited financial resources. So we try to help them in those avenues.
Absolutely. You don't want your paralegal making copies at $150 an hour.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Or $500 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that leads to the point, Manus, of is an expensive immigration attorney more better connected? So, like in some countries, better pay for better service, right? Uh,
Yeah, the connection in this case, it happens at a level that I think uh, if I was to hire an attorney to handle this myself, I'd want to be uh, I'd want to understand whether it's a flat fee and whether it's an hourly rate with a retainer. I also want to understand what happens when things go wrong. And we have that thing here. I don't know if there's an equivalent on the in the Russian or Ukrainian or Georgian or those cultures, Moldovan. Here we call it Murphy's Law. And we simply say, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And so many times, there's there's certain things that happen during your application process. An RFE, which stands for request for evidence, or a NOID, which is notice of intent to deny. And
Not the Domino's pizza guy. Oh.
no, not a Domino's pizza guy. It's a NOID. And you know, those are two things that can happen. And as I said, they can happen whether it's their mistake or your mistake. Whether maybe you failed to give them a document that they wanted, or they failed to find the document. We've had cases like that where we've had 1,700 pages, 2,000 pages going in. And we had the complaint from the USCIS saying, well, you never sent us, this document. And it was there. It was in there. He just didn't see it. So you want to make sure that your attorney doesn't, I guess the other term that we use here in the United States, nickel and dime you, because it adds up. And,
Yes.
you want to make sure that he has that thing in hand, that he knows that mistakes will be made not only by you, but by him and by USCIS, and how those mistakes will be corrected.
When dealing with a massive case like this, it's very important to be organized. That
Yes.
attorney, because as Manus said, the USCIS people are so overworked that you could have every good credential in your file, but it's just not organized very well. Maybe the
Yeah.
person is ready to go out to lunch and they don't have time to look at a messy file, denied, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's one of the things we've seen also with the uh, influence of, you can pay an extra $3,000 to put your case on a fast track, but you now put them in a situation where they have to read your file, and uh, we're talking about multiple. I mean, I would say 4 inches thick, papers. A ream of papers here is 500 pages. So when you go in an office supply store and you buy those papers for your copier, imagine 4 or 5 stacks, and they have to go
Mm-hmm.
through that, and they have 15 days, yeah, to go through that.
And
So
how many other cases behind yours? Yeah.
yeah, and so they tend to try to go through it as quickly as possible and to get to their decision and whatnot. So it's not malfeasance. It's nothing along those lines. You have to just understand that the workload is just incredible, and these people that are doing the work, they're good people, but they're definitely overmatched, as far as what needs to be done.
So what happens, we mentioned a little bit about this. So what happens in the case of either the attorney misrepresents him or herself? Uh, you're displeased, you want to fire the attorney. I've had cases, and this was mentioned in the chat, of you meet one of the partners for the meet and greet and sign the contract, and then you never see them again. And all you deal with is the secretary.
Yes, uh, that
So
is,
what,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, so what's your advice in those situations?
It is, I don't necessarily know how you can avoid that. You can't avoid that with us, uh, because, you're going to meet our attorneys and you're going to have conversations with them. And but then when the process goes through, you're going to meet members of our staff. We've taken great pains to centralize that information to make it accessible so that when somebody picks up, if you pick up the phone, you can easily look into the file and say, oh, yes, this is where it is. We have a standard in our organization where we update the files every Friday. We just update it. We put in the notes, and even if there's nothing going on, we just put in the notes, nothing going on. That type of stuff. Uh, it's just a habit that we want to instill, that we want to make sure that your file gets touched each and every week. You know, and you get notices on that as well. You would see that, yes, they are looking at your file, they are doing this and doing that. Um, we know when to call USCIS to say, okay, it's time, for you to now tell us what's happening with that file that we sent, because they have a strict policy themselves. And sometimes if it's just a one-man band, an attorney, it's tough to keep that deadline, that target point, that calendar point, in mind. So
Yeah, and I'll second Manus's emotion that if you become a client of Brain Drain, you will meet us. You're looking at Brain Drain.
yes,
You know, we've got some members off screen just because it's late in the night for them, but tune in to any one of our Meet the Neighbors Monday podcasts or live streams. Uh, Go listen to some of our stories or read some of our stories on the website, and the
yeah,
people you read about is who we are. We're not in some glass tower.
yes. All right.
So, um, one thing I thought about, Manus, is maybe you do, maybe you don't have any stories, caution stories at the top of your head. You've worked with immigrants before, so is there a situation you've come to mind where things have gone wrong or right because of the right lawyer?
I think, yes, we have what I call, again, you cannot stress this enough that, you know, there's a process to filing the application. There is a process that the USCIS has to go through when they adjudicate or make a determination on that application. So, yes, you have to make sure that when you do that, but you also have to anticipate, that things are going to go wrong. And you have to anticipate how you are going to deal with that situation when they do go wrong. Um, and um, yeah, we recently had that situation here. We anticipate it and we're ready for it. So um, we kind of knew, you know, that there was a very good chance. We knew what the reasons were going to be, only because we had sent this in. We knew that the USCIS officer missed it, missed the thing. So we anticipate that he would repeat that mistake, and so we're ready for that appeal or whatever, we'll call it an appeal for, this sake. But it's the technical term is reconsideration and whatnot. And if that does not work, then we will take it in front of a judge and have the judge adjudicate it. And that is something that they don't want. So, yeah.
And the bottom line is through our 9-step process, we already know you're qualified before we even get you to that point.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got your back. Um,
Yes.
uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that are coming in? I don't see any in the chat. Would anyone like to unmute and ask a question? You don't have to turn on your camera. Feel free. Um, we do have a bit of time. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, this will conclude today's presentation. We hope you can join us next time for another seminar. Should be in about a month's time in this series. We haven't picked a topic yet, but stand by to our channels and we'll let you know.